Thick ass thieves, nobody is safe. Reality rap, don't test the waters. Cold of the streets, you gotta follow orders. Stand up guys, rise, no disguise, we in the place. Thick ass thieves, nobody is safe. Reality rap, don't test the waters. Cold of the streets, you gotta follow orders.
And now it's time for Mob Talk Radio with your host, Jeff Canarsie.
And here we are. Oh boy. All right, do me a solid before I get going. Press the number 1 if you can hear the words that are coming out of my mouth, because there's going to be a lot of them and it's going to be a little loud, a little old school this evening. So once I see some ones, I'm going to go ahead and start. Okay, Gianni, how are you? I'm going to go through the chat and say hello to everybody. Just so you guys know, tonight we are going to be talking about mob stuff, but there's some things I want to address first, which is pre-recorded. And the reason why I decided to pre-record this is the chat drives me crazy. I can't really keep up with, talking and then hitting the chat at the same time. So I pre-recorded it, and it's going to be loud and abrasive, and I really don't give a fuck. How about that? So I'm going to go through the chat, say hello. Then I'll play the recorded video, and then we're going to talk about Sammy Gravano perjuring himself yet again, which is something interesting that I think we should talk about. And then I'm going to talk about this rat platforming shit, just because I think the message is getting distorted. So I'm going to go through the chat. Also, if you do have a wrench, do me a favor. If anybody comes in here spewing their nonsense, time them out first, and then if they can't behave, just boot them. Per the usual, we are going to accept donations. There is the link to my PayPal, or you can hit the thanks button. I would appreciate it. And we'll get into the reason why I'm actually finally asking for donations. Other than the fact that I want to make money, it's going towards the film thing. And tonight I'm going to show you exactly what we are trying to accomplish. So let me go through the chat. I cannot pronounce this name, so we'll just go ahead and say hello. Donnie, how are you? Carlos, what's shaking? Chad, how are you? Miss Can't Be Wrong, always a pleasure to see you in here. Pat, how are you? Bambi. Let's see, who else do we have? Gianni's in here. Jane Creek is in here. Donald, how are you? Yeah, Mob talking, but I don't talk about that. Tommy, how you doing, buddy? Tommy, when we're in Philly filming this thing, you should definitely come hang out. It'd be cool to hang out. Let's see, Nathan, how are you? I think that's just about everybody. I expect in about 6 or 7 minutes, this chat, we have 87 in here right now, but I guarantee you the minute I go to this pre-recorded thing, the chat's going to jump like crazy because I have some things to say. JJ Fedora, how are you? All right, Dragon, I don't know who you are, but hello, how are you? I'm sure that a lot of people saw the headlines of this show and they think I'm going to, I guess, do what I used to do. And for those that don't know me, number one, the old Jeff Canarsie was every bit of venom, piss, and vinegar that you can imagine. And over the years, I've sort of quieted down. Brian, how are you? Tim, how are you? And tonight you're going to see and hear something that's pretty vintage because I'm pissed off. Bottom line, how are you? I'm trying to catch up in the chat, guys. Easy Champion, what's shaking? Gary Cooper, how are you? K Goody, what's shaking? By the way, K Goody, thank you for the other night. I appreciate that. David, how are you? It's hot in Arizona. That's what I hear. Joey Knuckles, Bear Pushy. All right, I'm trying to catch up. Stacy, how are you? All right, let's see. Hurt Locker, okay. Mark K. Yokohama, how is Yokohama, Mark? How's everything going there? Jeff has truly put a lot of money into his project, and it shows. Yeah, and I'm going to show you tonight the things we've bought, just so that people understand that this is not like me grabbing a camcorder. Okay, we've got 94 in here. So let me preface what I'm about to play. As you guys have, I'm sure, aware, there's the mob genre, then there's the subgenre. Okay. And the subgenre of this is like a vitriolic pick on people, make fun of dead parents, and call people names that don't exist. And listen, if you know anything about me, I don't pull any punches. All right. No, Fin Freak, you're not blocked. I don't know why you'd be blocked, but you're not blocked. I see you in there. But here's the hi, Joy. How are you? I lost my train of thought. Yeah, definitely. Please hit the like. Please hit the like and donate if you can. I would appreciate that as well. One thing that I do, and one thing that I stand by, is I do not do what's popular. I do what's right. And some of the things that you're going to hear, people are not going to like. And personally, I don't give a fuck. I've had it. I've seen enough of it. And for those people that are my normal podcast subscribers, I know you don't like this kind of shit, but something has to be said, and I'm going to be the one to say it. Like I said, I don't do the popular thing. I do the right thing. And this is the right thing. So we're going to go ahead and play it. So brace yourselves. So here we are. And this is typically something I don't do, but I've had it. I've had it with a lot of things. And this is pre-recorded. And the reason why it's pre-recorded is because when I'm doing the live, I get distracted by the chat. Okay? So this is why it's pre-recorded. So let's get right into it, because I have a couple of things I want to fucking say. Number one, let's talk about FBS. FBS and I, just so that nobody gets it confused, in the past have not always gotten along. Those are facts. He hasn't always agreed with me in what I've said, and vice versa. However, the more I look around, the more I begin to fucking ask myself, where are his friends? Where the fuck are you? This is a guy who's entertained you. This is a guy who's helped hundreds of you with your personal fucking problems. Demons, addictions. Where the fuck are you when he needs somebody to stand up? The vile shit that's been said about him, his mother, his wife, and his children by several content creators is fucking disgusting. You want to sit in the chat, you want to egg him on, but then when he needs you the most, where the fuck are you? And it's not everybody. The mere fact that anybody would accuse a man who obviously adores his mother, who's crying, leaving himself completely fucking vulnerable in front of you, and you call that a grift, is fucking repulsive. Do you know what the difference is between a grift and a man who's hurting? Can you see the difference? Do any of you have mothers? A few content creators, and you know who the fuck you are. You keep attacking him, you keep attacking his mother. And I'm telling you right now, I'm putting you on fucking notice. You want to show up at his house? I'll be there too. And let's see you take both of us on. All you do is bitch like little children, little boys. None of you have any balls. None of you have any standards. And none of you are fucking men. FBS is a guy who wears his fucking heart on his sleeve. Whether you recognize that or not. How he spends his time and his money is his fucking business, and how anybody can sit there on a computer all day long and talk about every facet of his day tells me you got a crush. And you need to look into the mirror at your own fucking miserable lives and adjust accordingly. You don't know his mother, leave her fucking name out of your mouth. You don't know his wife, leave her fucking name out of your mouth. Leave him the fuck alone. A man has a right to talk about his personal life, the people he loves, without being attacked or having to fear that his mother's going to be attacked, which is what's happened. How dare any of you call that a grift? And it's funny to me because those who keep saying that are the ones that are sitting at home on the computer all day while their wives and girlfriends go out and earn a living to keep a roof over their low-life fucking heads. And those are facts. Or they beg for money because they refuse to go get a fucking job, sponging off all of the hard-earned money that you guys earn working 9 to 5. There is a difference between providing entertainment and taking donations versus begging for money. I have never seen FBS beg for money. Is he direct? Absolutely. But you guys pay him. You donate to him. But then there's other people who don't want to do anything and just expect it. You nitpick everything that this man does. A man that you're never going to know, never going to meet, never going to have the balls to go see. Shut the fuck up already. Why are some of you so addicted to what another man does? Whether you like him, whether you hate him, I don't give a fuck. But what you aren't going to do is attack his mother, his wife, or his kids, bottom line. And if you have a problem with that, I'll meet you in York, Pennsylvania as well. And I'll stand right fucking by him if you're feeling tough. Enough of the bullshit. Grow up, get a fucking job, and stop envying another man like you're Freddie Mercury looking for a piece of ass. Because you ain't never going to get it. You're never going to get it. Grow the fuck up. All right, so now that I've addressed that, let's address Lee Cole. And the reason why I'm addressing Lee, because many of you may think this is about him, this show. It's not. There's somebody else it's about. But I've seen these same asswipes calling Lee a junkie and a pedophile. Stop it. I don't give a fuck if Lee drives you nuts or not. Knock it the fuck off. Lee, number one, is not a junkie, nor is he a pedophile in any sense. It's the same 4 or 5 losers every day who keep saying this shit. You noticing a trend? And listen, I bust Lee's balls, but one thing I have never done and never will do is lie and invent shit about Lee Cole for the sake of feeling better about myself. It takes a real scumbag to fucking do that. A real fucking scumbag. Listen, we can disagree on mob history informants, and I can bust his balls for pronouncing words like cam corner instead of camcorder. But that's ball busting. If any of you who are doing this type of shit had any fucking talent at anything, or especially YouTube, you wouldn't be doing that. Your talent is wasting your energy and time talking about somebody you don't fucking know. Don't like his material? Turn the fucking channel. Don't like his friendship with Angel Gotti? Deal with it. And to that midget content creator who keeps going around saying nasty crap about me, Lee, Angel, and everybody else, believe me, your day is coming, you fucking shrimp. Let me ask you a question. What's it like with your hands jetting out of your armpits, you fucking midget? Do you need a fucking booster seat at restaurants? Do they offer you the kids menu and crayons when you go to sit down at dinner? Are you even tall enough to ride this ride? All you do is disparage other people behind their backs because you have a fucking Napoleon complex. You steal others' ideas, others' work, and more. Those are fucking facts. You attack Angel Gotti because she fucking calls you out. And so what do? You attack her family and her father. You're a pathetic fuck. You're the kid on the fucking playground that got beat up every day, and it shows. Do any of you pricks that do this shit, do you ever grab a link? Do you ever go on a show? Do you ever show your fucking face to anybody? Everybody's known who I am for a fucking decade. Do any of you have the balls to drop the fake name and go on these shows and talk about who the fuck you are? No, because people that hide their face, people that hide behind the scenes have a lot to hide and for a reason. You're all fucking cowards. And I will stand by Lee 3.7 hours a day. I offer him a little room to fuck up. But I'll stand by him when people are calling him a pedophile because they've done it to me. And it's nonsense and it needs to stop. And those of you that are in these chats, you can stop it by stop listening to the bullshit. Last but not certainly least, Angel Gotti. Angel and I go back a long time. I don't always agree with her, and she don't always agree with me. The fact that anybody gives two fucks who she puts on her show astonishes me. Who cares if she platforms? She could platform a steel dildo and it could vibrate all over the desk for an hour and people would still claim it wasn't a dildo or the dildo's lying. It really doesn't vibrate at 5 different fucking speeds. This is what people do. Who gives a fuck? Why is she accountable for the people who come on her show and possibly inflate their stories? Why is she responsible for that? Is she supposed to vet every single motherfucker that wants to come on and say hello? Is she responsible for that? And the last time I checked, she's entertainment. She's not a mob channel. Secondly, people use her for her name. Bottom line, she may not like me saying that, but that's true, and she knows it. It's always, people always are like, oh, I'd do anything for her. I do this and that. And then she mistakenly allows you in her fucking life. And the second that you don't like somebody she likes, or the second that she won't bend over for you and kiss your ass, you get all upset and then you start attacking her and you act like she was nothing. She's allowed to like whoever the fuck she wants. If she allows you to stay in her fucking home, you don't fucking disrespect her by blabbing all over YouTube how you were dating her daughter and making a mountain out of a fucking molehill. It's childish, it's cringy, and that's what 10-year-olds do who are fucking bitter and lonely and miserable because they feel better about hurting other fucking people. If Angel's daughter's name was Judy Thompson, you wouldn't have fucking said a word and nobody would have given a fuck. You should be ashamed of blabbing like some fucking teenager reading a new copy of Tiger Beat, you fucking cocksucker. Now, the last thing I'm going to say is this. I love Angel. I always have, I always will. And everybody knows that. Those are facts. And she knows damn well if she needed me, it could be 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning and I would get out of fucking bed and go wherever the fuck she needed me to go. My affection for her is not based on anything but respect. None of you fucks know anything about respect. Grown men acting like fucking little girls. You want to use her name because of her father's reputation. And let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story because this is important. When I came to New York City, when I came back to New York, I had nothing. I had $100 in my motherfucking pocket. Nothing. This woman made sure I wanted for nothing. She didn't have to do that. And it took me 2 years to get my shit together. It's not easy to show up in a big city like New York, right? With nothing to your name and make something of your fucking self. I went to fucking hell to get on my feet. And this woman always looked out for me. Thanksgiving and Christmas. She'd send me a text. Check your Cash App. Go to Western Union. I didn't ask her for a thing, but you know why she did it? Because she gave a fuck. She said, go eat. Even though you're alone and it sucks, it would break my heart to know you weren't at least somewhere having something nice, even if you have to be by yourself. That's not somebody who is doing something for me because I'm saying positive shit about her father or her brother or anybody else. She did it because she gave a fuck. It's ridiculous the shit people do. And it wasn't a fucking handout. It was based on fucking care, love, affection. Not love like you fuckers are going to try to twist it like it's a gangbang of 12 people. You people have no fucking idea what I went through. None of you. But I got on my feet and I would challenge all you little loser fucks out here who keep running your motherfucking mouth about me and everybody else. I would love for you to come to, I'll give you $100. You come to New York City and you try to keep your shit together. You try to make something of yourself. You won't and you can't. Because you're losers and it takes balls and it takes toughness to do what I did. And that last name, Gotti, is not a soft name. Because that last name saved my life multiple times in situations that I was at when I first came back to this city. And Angel knew I used that name. She told me, go ahead. If it protects you, use it. And I did. And it protected me in ways you will never understand. Lastly, she has more balls than 99% of you little boys that are on YouTube. Grown men attacking a woman and losing on top of it. It's hilarious to me. She don't take a backward step on anything or anyone. And for those of you who use and abuse her, her kids, her family for clout are punks. Angel and I don't even talk anymore. There's no reason for me to say this. There's nothing behind it. But I cannot sit back and not say something. Because despite whatever differences that there are, real recognizes fucking real. And you don't stop caring about somebody just because your wallpaper don't match theirs. Leave her, her family, and her daughter the fuck alone. Or else. I've had it. And you can attack me, make whatever videos you want. I'll just have them taken down with copyright strikes. But enough of the bullshit. You people are fucking sick. And if you had anything worthwhile in your fucking lives to come home to talk about, you'd be doing that rather than analyzing people you're never going to fucking meet and that you're jealous and envious of. And if anybody's feeling frisky and you want to run your mouth about Angel to me, believe me, she'll tell you I'm the wrong one. And that's it. That's all I got to say. It helps if I turn the fucking mic back on. So there you have it. And that's all I have to say. And it is what it is. It is what it is. Anybody who wants to come in here and start a bunch of shit, you're just going to be removed. Please don't come in here talking about any other content creators or their guests, because that's not what we do here. If other channels want to do that, they absolutely can do that. But it reaches a point with me where I do not do what is popular. I do what is right. And if somebody's got a problem with that, I'll drop the fucking link and you come run your fucking dick licker to me yourself. You won't, but I'll let you do it anyway. So, anyway, they don't know about being honorable, stand up. They don't know about being humble and giving thanks for the come up. No, they don't. They don't. And that's just, listen, some people are just punks like that, you know, and they sit at home all day while their wives and their girlfriends work and they spew nonsense, but they don't know what it's like to work. They don't know what it's like to struggle. And that's just the way it is. But this is the last time I'm ever going to discuss it. If people want to go ahead and make videos, then, you know, you can take that risk if you want to take that risk. But I'm just telling you, I'll basically go ahead and fucking, I'll have your shit copyright struck. So do what you got to do. Were you able to spend time? No, you know what? The bottom line, I didn't get a chance to go down there. I didn't. It's just been a busy summer working. I wish I just got in touch with a friend of mine, seeing if I can meet up with him in South Philly, because I need to talk to him about some stuff. So if he's listening, I sent somebody, a message. So hopefully that'll get back to them. Yep. Loyalty is everything. Yeah. Even if, I mean, at the end of the day, and this is like just a true life experience, at the end of the day, just because you disagree on shit doesn't mean you stop giving a fuck about that person. And if you stop giving a fuck about somebody because you disagree, then you were never their friend to begin with. And that's just, that's kind of how, I see things. So like I said, I thank you all for indulging me in that. Because I don't like getting involved in this stuff, but I also can't let people call Lee a pedophile. I can't let people dog Angel. Or FBS. I just can't do it. I can't do it. And even if it was somebody I couldn't, if somebody like called Jeff Nadeau a pedophile, I'd go crazy on them too, even though I don't like Jeff Nadeau. You're just not going to do that. But all that being said, yeah, I mean, I try to be straight up. There's no bullshit with me, straight up and down. Anyway, for those of you that are new and those of you that are not, you're probably going to be a little annoyed with me because I want to show you an on-location promo that we're going to be doing this fall. And then right after that, I want to show you all the equipment we have, just so that people understand the donations that come in are not going to my pocket. They're going to the film stuff. But let me show this really quick, and then we'll get on with the rest of the show.
Notti d'un tempo che fu, tre cavalieri da Spagna se partirono, dall'Abruzzi a Sicilia passarono e poi in Calabria se fermarono. 21 anni lavorarono sottoterra per fondare le regole sociali, leggi d'onori, di sangue e di guerra, leggi maggiori, minori e criminali, e sti regoli di sangue e d'omertà, da patria figli si li tramandaro, sti leggi di la società, leggi così una storia d'assaro. Ndrangheta, camorra e mafia è società organizzata. Ndrangheta, camorra e mafia, Sicilia, Napoli, Calabria onorata. La mattina a mezzo di lumari, una barchicetta vitti navigari, 5 veli e 7 marinari, uno di chisti me vosi domandari. Giovanotto dicete che cercavi, onore e sangue e non ci rispondia, sopra sta barca se voi inchianati, onore e sangue trovamo per la via, e me portaro a mezzo di lumari, tanisoletta in Omo Favignana.
All right, so there you have. So those of you that are familiar or not familiar, I am going to smoke. I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to give you guys third hand, fifth hand, 3D cancer, whatever the fuck. Anyway, We are going to start a streaming sort of TV thing in this fall, and it's going to be on location from mob haunts, restaurants, a bit of walking history and stuff like that. And the reason why we're accepting donations is because we're into like this for about $40,000 now, and this is pretty much what 40,000 gets you. Hey everybody, Jeff from Mob Talk Radio here. We were talking the other night on our live that we've invested over $40,000 into bringing you some films and stuff like that. So I just wanted to go through and show you the stuff we do have. So this is a DJI 4D. It retails, I think, coming out of the box with nothing, $9,000. And basically what happens is when you buy something like this, you got to buy lenses, your 50 millimeter, your 35 millimeter, etc. It's got a built-in arm that it comes out this way. This shoots out that way to make it like a steady cam. It's very expensive, and that's what we're going to do. This is how filmmaking is really done. And then you got a regular Canon. You got another Shure mic. Gig stick itself is $900. Then you come over here, lenses, $1,500, $2,000. $400 for wireless mics, more Shure stuff, audio interfaces. This is how filmmaking is really done. This is how expensive filmmaking is. And then you talk about other things. And it's not being braggadocious, it's just being honest. Got a $5,000 laptop, another $5,000 computer. So at the end of the day, this is how filmmaking is actually fucking done. And this is why we've been asking for donations on MTR, because we have the first 6 episodes funded, and we're always looking for additional funding. So that's what we've got going on. And I'm just trying to show you that we're not full of shit and we're serious about what we're trying to do. All right. So there you go. So that's what we're trying to do. It's expensive. It's an expensive thing. And I wouldn't be spending a lot of money if I didn't think I could do it. It shoots it. Lung cancer in 4K. I thought you were asking me what the camera shot, and it shoots in 8K. And that's about really the best you can get. That's a lot of the stuff they use for IMAX is 8K and above. So there you go. We can go ghost hunting with it. Sure. Why not? Great show, Cuzzy. Way to show the proper respect. And with you from now on. Yeah, absolutely, Tommy. You know me, we're a lot alike. We know the same people too. Great show as always. Just landed getting home. Hey, glad you got out of Florida in time. Definitely. I am in New York City. I'm in Lower Manhattan, Lower East Side. That's where I live. Anybody thinks that's cheap? It's not. Craigslist has equipment. Yeah, it definitely does. But, you know, when I'm going to do something, I want to do it right. You know what the funny thing is? I went in there to pay for that camera with cash, right? And anything that you pay cash for, it's got to be under 10 grand. Otherwise, you know, you got to claim taxes, right? So I'm looking at the girl, and I think I'm Johnny Badass pulling out like $12,000 in cash. She's like, you might want to just give me $9,990 and then give me the rest on your card. Otherwise, it's taxed. I'm like, okay. So I thought I was Johnny Badass counting out like 9 grand. And there's people next to me spending 30, 40, 50 grand. I felt like a fucking a chump, to say the least. Checking from Brooklyn. Hey, what's going on? I hope Brooklyn is treating you well. I used to live in Bed-Stuy. I used to live in Brooklyn, off near Tompkins and Gates. Might as well have been a fucking shooting gallery over there. All right. So the other things that I wanted to talk about, let me get this cigarette fucking out of the way. The other thing I wanted to talk about is Sammy Gravano. I don't know if you guys have been watching, but Sammy Gravano perjured himself either today or yesterday. He admitted to doing a murder for Graziano. And here's the funny thing about that. I'm sure the FBI is probably going to want to talk to him now. That's how stupid these guys get. He's admitting to a murder that he took care of off the record for somebody else. And I can tell you for a fact, he's probably lying. I mean, honestly, I'm telling you, he's probably lying. It's probably an 100% lie, because he's not even, well, he is stupid enough to talk about a murder that he didn't admit to. But I guarantee you now somebody is going to go talk to him about that. And that's what all of these rats do, is they end up telling different stories and perjuring themselves after they get out of the can, and then they expect nothing to happen. If the FBI does their job, somebody needs to go see him and ask why he didn't talk about that when he was debriefing. But I know what he'll tell them. Oh, I was just lying and making it up to make money. That's what he's going to do. But it's very interesting to see him perjuring himself. Is it surprising? Not to me. Not to me. Not at all. Which kind of leads into what I really wanted to talk about. Hey, Jamie, how are you? The one thing I did want to talk about is this rat worship we continue to see on YouTube. And I want to be careful how I word this, because I don't want anybody to misunderstand me. If you're somebody who has platformed rats from day one and you make no bones about it, it is what it is. You're going to do what you're going to do. But for other people, and I'm not talking about Lee Cole, I need to emphasize that because he'll have a heart attack thinking that I'm talking about him, and I'm not. I'm talking about people that tell you they want to be the next Jerry Capisci, which good luck. And they do that, and then they'll get an informant on there, and then they won't even chastise them. They won't even contradict them. And I get it. When you have a rat on your show, you're not going to fucking, say, well, by the way, you killed a 17-year-old kid. I get that you're not going to do that. I totally understand why you're not going to do that. But where's a follow-up show? Where is a follow-up show where you say, listen, now he said A, B, and C, and A, B, and C are outright lies, and we know that because we've got paperwork. But a lot of people don't use paperwork. So, my whole problem with that is, and you look at people like John A. Light, okay, and I'm not really supposed to talk about him, and I'm not going to, but the guy's a career liar, and I think everybody knows that. But I think that if you're going to want to be, even Jerry Capisci on his worst day will say something negative about somebody that's true. And Jerry, who I've had battles with myself, he had the FBI kick in my doors years and years and years ago. Even he at times will correct the record. Not when he fucks up, but when other people do, he definitely will. But I think, a large part of the problem is when you say you're a journalist, you say you're an investigative guy, and you think everything that you do, nobody's ever heard before, but yet you use no paperwork for anything. You're just then basically going off a book, or you're going off what informants have to say. Now, the question is, because somebody in this chat is invariably going to say it at some point, is that, well, informants must tell the truth to some extent. And I've always said, I think that they do tell the truth to some extent, but the majority of what they say is a lie. Okay. Because I have yet to run into any content creator who has said this to me. Well, my guy, he's an informant. And on Sunday afternoon, he woke up, decided he didn't want to live this life anymore. So he turned himself in, but didn't tell it anybody else. And I'll be waiting till I'm in the fucking grave, because that's never going to happen. Okay. Now show me proof of the incentive for them to tell the truth. In fact, if you go and you look at the court case files in many different informants, they all say basically the same thing. Well, I gave them bits and pieces of this, that, and the third, but I thought they wanted me to inflate. I thought they wanted me to talk more about this. And in almost 90% of the cases of informants, we've seen this. They all do the same thing. They tailor their testimony to fit an FBI narrative. This goes all the way back to the late 50s with Greg Scarpa. He did the same thing. Joe Valachi, same thing. Joe Bonanno, same thing. And yes, Joe Bonanno did give information up on people. So did Bill Bonanno. So did Harry Riccobene. So did Lefty Rosenthal. These guys all gave information up about people. And so at the end of the day, if you're going to platform an informant, I get it. You want the story. You want their perspective, but you're doing yourself and your audience no justice if you're not going to come back and refute anything. And that leads me to a point of, it's not about standards, it's about money. Because here's the other question, and I think this is a fair question. The fair question would be is, do people that do mob genre shows, do they even have to have a moral stance? And my answer to them is no. And the reason why I say no is because their life is not directly impacted by it. They're not related to anybody who's ever gone to prison for it. They've never been ratted on. I mean, there's a list of things. There's a list of criteria. Philadelphia, you look at that indictment, that directly affected my life because I have friends. So I was angry because I knew what my friends are capable of and what they're not. I know some of what they've done and some things I don't. But I know their character. And that's the difference. If you tell me a guy was selling drugs and this guy hasn't been around drugs in his life, I have a problem with that. So I can't expect any other content creator to have sort of any moral ambiguity when it comes to that. But for me, I have a huge issue with that. And that's me. But at the same time, if you're just doing this for fucking money, get the fucking story right. At least get the story right. And then don't make up shit like John Gotti was shaken down by the Aryan Brotherhood when he wasn't. First of all, use goddamn common sense. Okay? Was John Gotti locked up 24/7, 23/7 in Marion? Yes or no? I want you guys in the chat. I want you to answer this. Was John Gotti, while he was in Marion, Illinois, locked up 23/7? Press the number 1 if he was locked up 23/7. Because I'm going to prove a big point. I'm waiting to see some ones. Hit the number 1 if you know that, okay, so John Gotti was locked up 23/7. Let me ask you something. John Gotti was the most surveilled man in the United States since Al Capone. Next to Angelo Bruno, believe it or not. Now, if John Gotti's allowed out 1 hour a day to exercise, do you know where he would exercise in Marion? In a cage. Right? Dean, I see you in the back. Just give me like 5 minutes, okay? You're looking good with that. Please tell me, Dean, that's not a Redskins jersey, sweatshirt. All right, Dean, I'll be with you in just a few minutes. So John Gotti would have been put in basically a dog cage outside to exercise. Okay? They don't get showers every day in federal prison. So let me ask you a question. With John Gotti being the most surveilled motherfucker in the world, don't you think if he was giving money to anybody, the feds would have found out really quick and would have put a stop to that? Because they let the man die chained to a fucking bed. Do you really think they're going to let him slip money to people's commissary? Don't you think they were going to listen to wiretap calls? Wouldn't John have had to talk to somebody to arrange money to get to them? And let me ask you another question. If he's only out of his cell 1 hour a day and he's put into a cage, what does he need protection for? And from who? I'll wait till somebody can give me a reasonable answer. Because there isn't one. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. And of course, if anybody wants to bring up the fist fight he got into, that was a Chow Hall deal. That was him being transported from one place to another, and he didn't get beat up. He had words with somebody punched him, he punched him back. That was the end of it. You know what I mean? That was absolutely the fucking end of it. So that's my point to content creators who do this nonsense. Where are you getting your fucking information from? Oh, the Daily News, the New York Post. Yeah, because they're honest all the time. They called Carmine Persico a rat when he wasn't. Or they credit authors or these people who were never working in the prison who say they were. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. What the fuck would you need protection from? You know? It's prison. That's what happens. Unfortunately, it happens to weak individuals. What on earth makes you think for 1 second? This is a guy who could have been transferred to another prison as sick as he was. Didn't want a bellyache about nothing. You think he's going to pay anybody a fucking dime to protect him from what? From going from his cell with 6 guards to a cage out back to walk in circles? Fuck out of here. Hey, what's going on, Dean? How are you?
I'm all right, Jeff. How you doing, man?
Good. I was hoping you weren't wearing a Redskins sweatshirt.
Nah, man. I'm everything LA from the Dodgers to the USC Trojans, man.
Oh, well, Trojans, you can't beat that. How you doing tonight?
I'm all right, man. Yourself?
Oh, I'm full of piss and vinegar as usual.
Did you get the message I get? But that's the guy that he fought, though. You know, let's give John Gotti credit. The guy was like 25, 30 years younger than him, though.
Yeah. There was a lot. I just saw it now in the private chat, but a lot of it has been blown up to be something it wasn't, and it's just like they always look for a fatal flaw in John Gotti. They always have. They always will. If people envy, we talked about this the other night, right? So there's people that envy him, people that don't like him, and the only thing that people can actually ever use against him is they'll say, "Oh, well, he got caught talking on tapes." Okay, so did half the fucking mob. Oh, he killed a boss. So did Lucky Luciano. So did Carlo Gambino. So did Albert Anastasia. So did Vito Genovese try to do it. That's nothing new. So that's what they try to use. And then they'll bring up the prison bullshit. Do you really think, I mean, you're a John Gotti fan, right? Do you really think if you're if you're allowed outside of your cell 1 hour a day, what do you need protection from? Spitballs? I mean, it's just, and you really think he had it so easy in prison where he could actually go sit down with somebody and have no, it's 23/7 lockdown. It's a supermax. It's a dungeon.
Too many Goodfella movies.
That's exactly what it is. And it's too many people that want to distort the reality of who he was. And listen, for everything that we talk about publicly, there is stuff we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And this was a guy, and I've said it before, and this is not like a Shine My Shoes Gotti show, but when Neil Dellacroce was the underboss, who do you think ran the streets? John Gotti.
Mm-hmm.
He ran everything. Paul sat in his mansion doing his thing. Neil handled the stuff on the streets, but he left John Gotti in charge. So it's not like he went from zero to, it's not like he went from like an absolute, nobody knew who the fuck he was to who he was at the end. There were some ladders there. So it's just, I don't know. I see sometimes when people say things because they're mad at Angel and they want to shoot, invisible darts at her father, but they wouldn't say that if he was alive. That's for sure. That's for damn sure. So you're always going to have pros and cons and people are going to say whatever. I just wish that if people were going to do a legitimate show, if you want to have on a rat, by all means, go ahead. But if you're not going to refute shit they say, then you're not giving everybody the full story. Listen, I don't pretend that gangsters are saints and have done nothing wrong. I would be a fool to say that, but I'm not going to lie to my listeners either and pretend that it's all fucking sugar plums and lollipops. So it is what it is. I don't know how. His phone is down. Is he in a social club? Can't hear you.
Nah, I'm not in no social club. Sorry.
No, I'm like, damn, he's in a social club. You got balls. I have to leave my phone in the car when I go to mine. They don't even allow it in the club.
No, I'm in no social club.
Gotcha.
I want to ask you this, Jeff. Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
Why didn't John just break Sammy then? Why you just didn't knock him down?
I don't know. I think a lot of it's just too little, too late. I think, guys, when they're in that position, try to put like-minded people around them. But I also think you put people that you can kind of get over a little bit. And I think if there was one thing that could be thrown John's way is that he reacted a little too late to the problem.
Is it because Sammy also, he had some real killers around him, though? I'm not going to take that away from Sammy. He did have some killers around him.
He did.
I don't know if John could have just knocked him down and it just would have just been that.
Well, if you do that, it creates instability. And honestly, I wasn't there and I couldn't tell you how much power the guy really had or didn't have. But I think people take notice when everybody starts dropping like flies. You'd be real hard pressed not to say a whole lot, especially catching John on a bad day. So I think that has, a lot to do with it. But this guy says Sammy was in jail a year with Gotti before he flipped. I actually believe he flipped before then.
I've been said that.
Because let me prove another point to you. not to you, Dean, but to this person. Do you really think, because Sammy says, oh yeah, I went in there and I hear all this shit, then I go back and I confront Gotti. The feds are not going to let that happen. Not for 2 seconds, because they are going to be afraid something's going to happen to Sammy. They're not about to send him back to that cell after he agrees to cooperate. So somehow magically he goes back to that cell for a couple hours because I wanted to say something to John. Bullshit. No way. No fucking way. So I think it was a lot earlier than that. Can I prove it? No. But I think it was. I think he
knew the jig was up.
I think he was talking before he ever got arrested. That's just.
I remember a long time ago I had asked you that. You kind of got into it, but didn't want to get into it. I remember I asked you a while back, like, do you think he was telling before then? He was like, I wouldn't put it past him. I would not put it past him.
Well, you got to think everybody around him's getting killed, and he's absorbing their businesses, and the feds don't see that. Like, they have eyes and ears on everything. And you know, there were literally 100 men who informed on John Gotti. It wasn't just Sammy the Bull. There were 100 that gave information on Gotti, and that just slipped their minds to tell them, oh, by the way, you know, Sammy's saying all this stuff, and he's taking over all these companies. You think they didn't know that? Come on, I don't buy that. I don't buy it. But can I prove it? No, I can't.
That's why I never got mad at John. Sorry for cutting you off, Jeff. I'm sorry about that, man.
That's all right.
That's why I never got mad at John Gotti in the way he was, because he was right. Man, it don't matter how he hid. Man, they got his picture right here. Sammy the Bull picture right here. Frankie Loke's picture right here. All the cap, man. They knew who they were already. It wasn't no hiding anyway. Where you going? Where were you hiding?
Right. And that's what I've always said is anybody that believes that he just decided after John Gotti blamed him for everything, which isn't true, right? Because I brought this up the other night, and I'll bring it again for those in the chat. If you go and you listen to Gotti's wiretaps when he's sitting with Frankie Loke, he's asking Frankie Loke very specific questions. Did Louis DeBono ever steal a dime from us? Did Robert DiBernardo ever lie and talk subversive behind my back? And Frankie Loke says, no, I never heard him. And then you hear John Gotti say, I took this guy's word that these guys were doing all this stuff. And then he says, I made calls. Nobody stole nothing from me. I checked all the sources. And this is Gotti realizing he's been lied to. So it just sort of shows that it wasn't just John Gotti saying, oh, kill this one, kill this one, kill. He's believing what somebody underneath of him is telling him, and he realizes it too late.
Well, this the thing that pisses me off with John sometimes. Because isn't that, Jeff, when you supposed to lean on your consigliere and you supposed to get his ear and ask him what's going on in the streets?
Right. And I think he did, but it was just too little, too late. Too little, too late. Too little. And how'd they find out about the Ravenite? How'd they find out that they were in the Sorelli's apartment?
I always wanted to know that.
I can tell you how. Willie Boy Johnson. Yep. It was him and probably a handful of other guys. Would I put it past Gravano? How come Gravano's never in there saying anything? This is a guy who can't shut the fuck up in every other way, you know, but yet. So I'm not blaming it on one person or another, but I just think it's awful strange how, Sammy just sits there and says nothing. Like he's that smart? No. Fast forward to Arizona. How smart was he?
Touche, Jeff. Touche.
Right. Anybody that buys his nonsense is crazy to me. It's crazy to me.
You know what? Sometimes, and I know Jeff, I swear, my girlfriend don't understand it. She just think it's not a big deal. Like, so what if somebody told him? I'm like, it don't work like that, baby. You don't do shit with somebody, and then when you get caught, you just, it don't work like that. You take your shit, and you 10 toes down. You 10
gotta
toes
take
down,
your lumps.
man.
Well, everybody wants to get a part of the money that's being robbed from the bank, but nobody wants to go to jail. And that's these guys all bounce around together. They get the women, the cars, the money. They don't give a fuck. But the minute they get arrested, like Jimmy Calandra of all people, the minute that motherfucker's in prison, I got a lot of shit to say. Okay,
Jeff,
well, if you have a lot of shit to say it about yourself, motherfucker, not 20 other people.
I don't want to lose that. I'm glad you brought that. How long was he connected? Because his story seemed like he been
Jimmy
in the life
Calandra
for
was a
40
nobody.
years.
Jimmy
Like, how does
Calandra was a nobody.
He got 40 years worth of stories.
He was a fringe guy that was not an associate on record. He was on an associate on record with Chris Paciello, not Anthony Spiro and
Yeah, he
Paul
always says
Galino,
Spiro,
right?
though. Why does he always say that then?
Because what else are you going to say? You're not going to come out and say I was a fucking dope fiend and a nobody who did nothing, couldn't crack a fucking egg. You know, he was at a murder scene. That is accurate. He was a tough guy. There's no arguing that. But you're living off the reputation of other men. Because Anthony Spiro, the information that Jimmy Calandra gave in a court of law was fifth-hand information. It wasn't direct. It wasn't Anthony Spiro told me to go down the street and kill a moose. No, it was I heard from so-and-so who got told by somebody else that he did that. But the feds bought it. They didn't give a shit. They allowed hearsay in all day.
I thought that's supposed to be hearsay and that's not supposed to be admissible in court.
It is at the federal level as long as the target's big enough.
Wow.
That's the way it's always fucking been.
Wow.
If you look at FBI 302s or even FBI surveillance reports, you will see I heard X from A, B, and C. They're writing it down as if it's factual, and it's not. That's hearsay. But yet, in every single mob trial I've ever been to, they allow hearsay in like it's nobody's business.
Wow.
Because the judge has discretion. And discretion always seems to be amplified when it's allowing a rat to talk. That's just my 2 cents anyway.
No problem, ladies.
The feds had Leonetti set up to testify against Gotti and Gravano for the Castellano murder, but they knew they could get more guys put away with Gravano testifying. Leonetti was on a rat tour. Yep, absolutely true. But Leonetti's another one. Leonetti's another one who cracks me up because, listen, if you're that tight with Salvi Testa, and Salvi Testa is the Crown Prince of Philadelphia, why don't you just kill your fucking uncle? What was the fear in that? I don't think anybody would have gone crazy if Nicky Scarfo got killed. No, he set Salvi Testa the fuck up. He was just as involved in that as everybody else was. All his bullshit of, you know, in that interview, he's like, they asked him specifically, well, couldn't you have warned him? Well, no, because then they would have killed me. Please. Come on. Listen, the only way that Philly and Nettie was ever, because Salvi Testa was going to be up and coming, right? He was going to be like the next Jesus Christ of South Philadelphia. Leonetti has an issue with that because Leonetti is Nicky's nephew, so he wants to be up the spot. So why not better put shit in Nicky was already schizophrenic as it was. So why not put shit in Nicky's ear about, oh, you see all the press this guy's getting. You see all the notoriety he's getting, Nicky. This could be bad for us. He's just, I can tell you that's exactly the way it went down.
Wow.
I mean, this is a guy who like married the wife of some guy he whacked. Like, it doesn't get any more fucking circus than that.
That's giving me John Panisi feelings.
Oh, is the house shaking? Are your grandparents coming to tell you to rat?
Hey, Jeff, do you think Phil Leonetti was going to rat that whole time too?
Absolutely. But Leonetti did something a little differently than some of these other bastards. He like got sentenced first. It wasn't until after his sentence started to kick into his brain in jail that he's like, you know what? I don't want to do this. You know, he took his fucking pinch at first like a man. Then he gets hit with like life without and all of this crazy shit. Then all of a sudden he picks up the phone like a year into his sentence and wants to fucking start telling on everybody.
I don't look at it like that. I look at it like this, Jeff. He just wanted to see the cards they were playing. He played his poker hand and he just wanted to see the hands. Maybe if he got 20, he probably would have did it. Once they started saying life.
And see, that's the card that informants always carry. Because I'll give you an example, and this is not truthful. If I was going to be a federal informant, okay, I'm going to go out and break and kill as many motherfuckers as I want. And the reason why I'm going to do it is because I know if I get arrested, guess what? I have this card in my pocket I can pull. And that's the problem. When it benefits an informant to the extent where they get 25% of the RICO forfeiture, Like so when they take your house, if you let's say you have $1 million house, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they can attribute that house to illegal criminal proceedings, they can take your fucking house. The informant gets 25% of that.
Wow. On top of what the government's paying him as
On top
well?
of whatever money and stipend and facial surgery and dick implants they want. Absolutely.
Wow.
So tell me, what's the incentive not to be a rat? Now, if the federal courts came out and said, here's the deal. You're going to become an informant, but you're still going to do 20 years minimum. How many guys would continue ratting? Not many. Not many would say a fucking word.
Mm-hmm.
Because they already know I'm going to have to go to jail, whatever. And if the judge said, no matter what the fuck you tell us today, no matter what you tell us today, you're still doing 20 years. They might be a lot less reluctant to talk. But when they tell them, oh, you can whack 20 people, we'll give you 3 years, you can go live on your merry life. Who's not going to sign up for that deal?
And you get $1 million.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like Ron Previty, they make a big deal out of him. He was a fucking meth head. He was nobody. I witnessed another content creator call him a tough mobster.
Ron Previty?
He wasn't very tough. And let me tell you another thing. If he had been so entrenched into the organized crime guys with there, don't you think that Joey Marino would be in prison right now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's my thing. Bobby Luisi, another rat, always says, oh, I didn't snitch on my friends in South Philly. No, because you didn't know anything. If you had done something, you would have fucking told them. But yet people fall for this shit, hook, line, and sinker every time. Do they tell the truth in some instances? Absolutely. Do they inflate? Do they invent? Absolutely. Listen, I was in a federal court case. Me. And I stood in a courtroom as a mob rat, told the judge I was in the Mafia. He told the judge my lawyer was an alcoholic, a junkie, and and was John Gotti Jr.'s bag man. Wow. This is what he told a federal judge. Oh, he's in the Philadelphia Mafia. He's also connected with the Genovese and the Bonanno. How many people am I connected to? And the judge looked at me and he literally said to me, Mr. So-and-so, do you have any comments? I just started laughing. I said, that's not what we're here for. I said, this guy's delusional. And he kept screaming, no, he's in the Mafia. He's in the Mafia. And the judge is like, what the hell have I gotten myself into? But that's the other thing they do. You know, it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. But what are you going to do?
Can I ask you a question, Jeff?
Yeah.
Why is John Connolly in prison but not Linda Vecchio?
That's a good question because I think of the two of them, I think Linda Vecchio is the worst. I don't really think John Connolly did anything wrong. The only thing I think John Connolly did wrong was he warned Whitey Bulger they were coming for him.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I tell you that is because I went through all of the 302s that have been publicized. Whitey Bulger didn't give him shit.
And I watched the documentary because of you.
He gave him
Whitey
nothing.
Bulger versus America. I watched it.
He gave him nothing. He didn't even give names, dates, or crimes.
So was he a rat, Jeff, or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man.
Absolutely. You know, he was still an informant. I mean, he was talking to the FBI. It makes you a fucking rat, right?
I was about to say that. Where I come from, there's no justifying telling.
Right. You can't justify it. But people ask me all the time, well, and I say to people all the, who do you testify against? Who got arrested because of him? Nobody. Literally nobody. But that's just the game that Whitey Bulger was playing. Did he deserve what he got in prison? Yep, he did. That's just reality.
The streets.
That's how the streets finish things. But as far as like Kevin Weeks is a bigger rat than Whitey Bulger ever was. Seriously. He gave up all they had to tell Kevin Weeks was that Whitey Bulger was giving up information to Conway, and he just started talking. He couldn't wait to talk. So it's so crazy. It's so crazy.
Hey Jeff, what's the point of giving up information if you're gonna do life in prison anyway? Like I never understood that with Steve Fleming. You're doing fucking 20 lives. What is the point?
There's no point. There's no point. And if you're making that kind of money, hop a flight and go to Costa Rica and call it a day. How much is enough? Guys get caught when they've overextended themselves. So if a guy's got $5, $6, $7 million squirreled away, just go. be done, but they can't because the action's too addicting. It's the action, you know? So what are you going to do? Let's see. It says
plethora of knowledge, man.
Lynn was the worst because he forgot he was an agent. He thought he was a gangster. Nope. Absolutely, Carlos. You're right. Luisi knew Ron Previty was a rat and questioned him, but let Previty put him away with that undercover agent. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Luisi was a clown. The patriarchs didn't even want Luisi. He was such a bumbling fuck. You know, just, and I know people that knew him because of who he was associated with. And they all kind of just said, a couple of them told me, they said, he was a funny guy, but nobody trusted him. Everybody knew what he was immediately. But it's
is that Previty or Luisi?
Luisi.
Okay.
But like my comment was, but if you knew that, why didn't you do anything? Once you fear that a guy is, you can't do anything. You can't kill the guy because you're afraid he's already talking, and that's just going to bring heat. So you just start distancing yourself. But it's always from the outside in down there. It's never from the inside. Nobody. You look at Philadelphia past 1990. They haven't had a single guy from the inside that was worth a fuck give up anything. It's always outsiders. The fucking J.R. Rubios of the world and that other dipshit. I can't even think of his fucking name right now. Oh, God. So, I'm going to drop the link in case anybody wants to come on. Please feel free to donate if you can. I would really appreciate it. We're holding 160 tonight. Not bad. I'm not going to go for 3 hours tonight, though. That's for sure. I'm still trying to recover from the last one.
No Chris tonight?
He's at work till 8:45, so he's probably driving in his car right now going, God damn it, he didn't tell me he was going to go on, motherfucker.
Yeah, you surprised me with this one today, too.
Yeah, I got it. Well, the thing is, earlier I was sitting around and I talked to a couple different people, and they asked my opinion on what was going on, and I just says, you know what, let me just flex a little bit. I'm sure I'll regret it tomorrow when there's 100 fucking videos made about me, but whatever, I'm used to it. South Philly is the most solid. I think so. And the reason why I say that is because you can't crack Kevlar. And there's a good argument too, is if you take an organized crime family that has 200 people, do you really think all 200 people know each other? I don't. Now, if you have a crew, a family of 75, they all know each other very well. And that's every year. It never fails. You'll get some beat reporter, some book author. The Mafia is on its way out. No, it's not, because history always repeats itself. History always comes back full circle. Thank you, Pergiano. Thank you, Wap O'Neill. It was Anthony Pergiano. That guy's a fucking scumbag. Pergiano. Did we lose you, Dean? Oh, I think we lost Dean. All right. Anyway. All right. Let me go through the chat. I'm down here 13th and Bigler. Oh, do you recognize my shirt? Stop flexing. You recognize my shirt? You can't buy that anywhere. If you have haters, that means you're doing a great job. Screw them. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, if you're not upsetting somebody, you're definitely not doing something accurate. Did John Gotti ever meet Nicky Scarfo? Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, John Gotti did a friend of mine a big favor. I don't want to tell nobody who this guy was, but he was a South Philly guy back in the day, and there was a beef between a Gambino captain in North Jersey and a mate guy in Philadelphia, and words were exchanged, and this guy wanted to clip the guy from South Philly, so Nick calls John Gotti, and okay, you're back. So John Gotti gets called. He comes down. He sits down with Nicky Scarfo, the guy from the Gambinos, the guy from Philadelphia. Gotti listens to what happens, and Gotti sides with the Philly guy, and he tells Nicky Scarfo, if any of my guys ever get out of line again here, kill him. You don't even have to ask me. And he basically saved my buddy's life. And, it is what it is. Stop flexing. I haven't been there in years because I was there right before Sonny went away. Right before Sonny went away, I was there. I haven't been down. I'll go back down there after he gets out, but not until then.
Don't Sonny got a 5-year pinch though? I'm Jeff.
No, he got a 24 months.
Oh, I'm not saying any jail time is bad, but
Well, that's a lot of time when. So let me say this, and you know, listen. So he's like my best friend, first of all. Okay. And so I'm very protective of what I say, but I will tell you this is that his brother, Stevie, got a 5-year charge for doing nothing wrong because the extortion that they charged Sonny with, which is what he got 24 months for, somebody walked in and was paying back money they borrowed from Sonny. And the guy says, "Oh, here's the money for your brother." And the money wasn't for him. It was for Sonny. But because he brought in a guy that was wearing a wire, there you go. That's all it takes.
It's illegal to lend your friend money now?
That's what I said. But when the guy's a federal informant, might as well be. Yeah. That's what Stevie's in jail for. He did nothing else wrong. They played wiretaps of him giving instructions and all this stupid kind of shit, but it's not illegal to be in a club. It's not illegal to be a member of the Boy Scouts. If I have 6 Boy Scouts in my house, if I have 6 Boy Scouts in my house, people are going to say really despicable shit about me. But if I give 6 people my McDonald's order and the feds think it's a criminal act, you're done. But that's why Stevie's sitting in jail. He did nothing wrong. And please. Sonny never been in trouble in his life.
Wow.
Other than biting a guy's nose off, but the guy had it coming. You know, so it's like it's ridiculous. 24 months is it's like you said, any time is bad time. Well, like when my buddy Phil got caught up in that extortion beef, he got 18 months. You know, 18 months. Look who it is. It's Mr. LaVecchia, and he's drinking.
How are you?
I'm all right, buddy. How are you?
Well, man, I got a message that you were on live. We've been chatting a little bit over email here and there, so I figured to pop in and say hello.
How you doing, Tom?
How are you, sir? Pleasure to meet you.
Okay. Likewise.
Tom, you need to come to the MTR thing in Jersey.
Oh, that's Jersey?
Yeah.
When is it?
It's in Beverly.
No, I'm saying when. You have a date?
Oh, we'll figure that out in the next 2 weeks. But it's going to be a Saturday, Sunday event, fully catered, food, music, wine. I'm sure you like wine.
Hey, Jeff, I'm having a hard time with that email shit to you, yo. Is there any other way I could get to you by doing it? Like, Cash App that shit? I don't give a fuck what I got to do.
Yeah, I'll email you after this show, and I'll work it out with you. I just
told you, I don't care if I got to put my condo.
We just got to. I think we're right at like 10 or 12 people now. And as long as those 10 or 12 are like legit going to do it, and they're not like creep show weirdo people that want to like club me with a fucking bat when they see me, then we're good to go. But it's like the whole thing is I've got to pay the people that own the house, and I'm not about to come out my pocket and have 6 people cancel on me and go, okay, there goes $5,000. So
yeah, Jeff, I mean, I know I can stay tonight because of the kids, but
yeah,
give me the date. I'd love to check it out.
Yeah, we're gonna have day stuff too. So we're gonna play bocce and stuff like that. So we're gonna have a good time. How you doing, Tom? It's been a while.
Yeah, I've been busy. I just, what I did was I took a little break because I got busy with real life, and then I kind of getting back into it, and I'm doing other stuff, not just mob stuff. So I'm doing stuff that I enjoy, like the business stuff, and I'm doing some mob stuff here and there,
Well, if you don't mix it up, man, you put a gun to your head. Trust me.
Well, it's funny because I've been meaning to talk to you. I just feel that you were the OG, so you were here way before a lot of people. You'll be here way after everybody, and you do this for a living, which I respect because I know how hard that is to do. But I don't think it's getting better.
No.
And I just wanted to know like your thoughts on it because you obviously have like the sides, right? You have the XY's guys, and that's getting saturated, right?
Right.
And then you have the content creators such like yourself. That's kind of getting saturated, and the infighting and that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to see, where you see it going.
I don't think it's going to get any better at all. And I said this to somebody the other day, like, granted, I'm not on YouTube nearly as much because I have the paid platform, but I used to when I dropped a video, I'd have 5,000 views a day.
Yeah.
And what I'm watching now is, my views are really down, which I'm probably not good at the algorithm crap anyway. But what I think is a lot of people are just kind of funneling towards the haterade shit.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't care about facts.
Yeah.
And listen, that's not to disparage anybody I don't get along with, because everybody has their own value.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's odd to me because when I bust my ass and I wait months for FOIA paperwork, and I do this like huge show with nothing but like government paperwork, and I get like minuscule views, and I look at somebody who's calling somebody a cocksucker for 45 minutes is getting like 20,000. I'm kind of like, maybe this is no longer fun.
Well, I noticed that some of the channels that are kind of like drama channels, I don't know many of them, if any, cracked over 10K, and subs do matter because you need to be able to promote. You need to be able to get it out there, and you have a larger chance of having a better outcome. And this, you have an advertiser. An advertiser wants to see your data. They want to see how many subs you have, how many views you have. And this, when I invest money with you as an advertiser, I have a financial responsibility to come through. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of it, that a lot of these people don't really have sponsors. They do a different. And listen, it's a free market. Anybody can monetize however they want. But at least when you have a sponsor, or you run it like a business like you do, you can give better content because it's truer, and you're able to kind of focus on the content itself.
Yeah, and I'm always, my thing is I'm always looking for when the peak drops. Like, how long is somebody listening to me? And like when I first started, it was like 2 minutes, and then they turn it off. Now I'm at over 35, over 35 minutes, and that's insane.
Average?
Yeah,
that anything over like 5 minutes is good.
Yeah, so for me, it's this is why I'm going the route of taking the show on the road. Smart. Because I think that there's a market for, not everybody can get in the car and go see where Angelo Bruno gets killed.
Yep.
Right. So now I took all the money I've made in the last, year or two, and I put it together for this film stuff. And I also think what's an interesting comparative is talking to old men in their 80s who have lived in the neighborhood the whole life and seeing how it's changed for them. Because my opinion, listen, I could tell you all day long the sky is green. But the people that live there are the ones that can tell you the stories. And I just think, I think that's the right way to go. But we'll see. I mean, but I would agree with you in saying that I think the genre is oversaturated. And I just think that the new people that are getting on board are falling for a lot of the window trimmings of a mob genre show, but they're not really getting the education they should.
Well, one of the, I always listen to your stuff, even when you criticize me, but I that's part of the game.
Right.
But with that said, though, I always like your stuff. And what makes you a little different is your understanding of Italian organized crime, Italy. I loved your history of the Sicilian Mafia. I think I've listened to it 3 times because people really need to understand the kind of origins of it and why Italians came over here, the Italian diaspora, why they came over, why there were neighborhoods, why they're, how kind of like the Camorra, it wasn't only Ndrangheta, but the Camorra kind of merged into the Sicilian Cosa Nostra because its strength. It's been around you show me a street gang that's been around over 100 years. So this stuff is part of American history. And like you almost, how do I say this? You almost overvalue like your content, because I don't know if people really kind of understand what you're doing, but those that know, like Dean, I see him shaking his head. They know. I love like, and you get it too. Cause like I started doing stuff overseas and I think that's the next kind of wave.
Yep.
Because it's still strong there. You know what I mean? And like we could talk about things that are happening almost like I started trying to cover the Ndrangheta and like something was coming over every day. It was almost too much,
Well, and somebody said to me, they says, and this is a guy that you would be familiar with, Tom. It said to me, everybody from the street level loves what you do. They're not all going to admit to it. Like there'll be some naysayers who are like, keep this guy over to the side. Yeah. He said, but the problem with your show, and I'm like, oh, great, here it comes. He said, people don't understand it.
Yeah.
They understand what you're saying, but they're not around it. They didn't grow up around it, so they don't understand. And when you get into the Canadian stuff, or you get into the European stuff, it's almost talking a foreign language to most people. And I try to dummy that down, but it's like you really can't.
Well, one area that like really fascinates me, and if you ever wanted to collaborate on this, I'd be interested to do it. Why did America supposed to be the best opportunity in terms of, revenue, biggest market, intelligent Italian Americans now, the whole bit, and the American Mafia at best, maybe the Genovese in some pockets, has essentially petered out, right? Versus the Calabrians are doing $50 billion a year. The Camorra is hooking up with the Kinahans. You got the Sacro-Cronianita like taking over stuff with the Albanians, and it like so you have like, if you think about it, the Italian culture essentially is similar, family oriented, dinner on Sundays, Catholic, so like why did it succeed in the motherland the way it did? And then you're like, okay, but Italy's corrupt and it's homegrown. But then Canada, I would argue that the Ndrangheta and what's left of the Rizzutos is probably much stronger than any LCN in New York or anywhere. But I would like to know, you're the expert. I'd like to know what you think.
No, hey, Jeff, can I just say one thing on that?
Yeah, sure.
The FBI.
Yeah.
Well, there's no RICO in Canada. Real quick, I'm sorry, Jeff, there's no RICO in Canada. And number two, they'll kill you. Like if you roll, they follow the Sicilian, rule. If you roll, they'll kill your family. What was it, about a year ago? They killed a former mob boss's daughter.
Yeah. To prove a point. And that's the difference. And I always say this: the minute that murder is no longer the equalizer, then you truly don't have any power.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
And I think Ndrangheta has a lot. The other thing I always typically say, at least on my paid podcast, is the American Mafia used to have all the money, all the politicians, and Ndrangheta owns the fucking banks.
Courts. I mean,
yeah. So there's a difference between laundering money through a bank and then owning the bank itself.
Well, that's why I always wondered, and obviously, without saying too much, probably the Bananas pretty much severed ties with Sicily, but the Gambinos kind of reconnecting. It's not about bringing over 50 zips. I don't think it's really just about that, but it's really about being like transnational or being international. Because I think where the mob screwed up is really two ways. When you had neighborhoods, you'd talk about the old guy in the neighborhood. Right. When it was they either had to go like super neighborhood and like own areas and control those areas, or get into drugs. I don't like drugs. I hate drugs personally. Right. I had a family member lost to drugs. He probably was taking Italian heroin when he died. But my point being is they either had to go either way, and they didn't like rule the areas because Italian neighborhoods were dissipating, and they didn't get into the international. And there's exceptions like Francali, etc. But they didn't get into the international stage that had the same growth as the Calabrians. You know what I mean? And like Canada probably has a hard. I mean, Rizzuto was in on that bridge that they were going to build. I think you did a show on it. Rizzuto was in on that bridge that was going to connect Catania and Italy.
Yeah,
and he was a big investor.
Right.
It's a different level. You know what I mean?
Well, I used to say all the time, I said a bunch of times that Rizzuto's, even before Ndrangheta had started poaching into Canada, were worldwide. They were not just, and people told me I was full of shit. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Australia,
Abu Dhabi, like you name it. They had
now Ecuador and Peru. The Italians, along with, and again, I had Anna Sergi on, and she kind of, I don't know, you don't do many interviews, but sometimes you do an interview and you're dealing with like somebody you respect, and she kind of like roasted me about the super cartel. I still believe in it. I think they hooked up with Kinahan, the Camorra. I think the Ndrangheta sprinkled in, the Macro, those guys. But she kind of poo-pooed it, which like killed me. But I think there's people getting together and creating super cartels,
Yeah, well, back in, I think it was last year in Philadelphia, it was something like 95 tons. That was Kinahan.
Yeah.
I mean, and the fact that like you've never seen him, I mean, at least to our knowledge, we've never seen him moving stuff into American ports. I think he's been doing it for a while, but that's the first time that it was ever kind of publicized that that's what he was doing.
Well, one of the the last big Sicilian Mafia bus wasn't in New York. He was in Philly, a few of the guys.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, related. I think, well, they call it the Coke, and then they arrested these guys. I don't think they put it together, but formally. But let's be honest, that's what it was. But I think the last few Sicilian Mafia kind of pinches had a Philadelphia tinge to it, and not New York.
Yeah, I know they seized a bunch of houses and stuff like that. A ton of houses.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is in terms of the genre. And listen, my numbers, are taking a little bit of a hit, like you were saying, like because I'm doing other stuff. Right. So I kind of built it on the mob stuff. I'm trying to do other stuff. So I expected a hit, but I had kind of like, and it's funny because I was going to call you like so I had when Rizzuto got shot at, right, the son, and I had Antonio Cosa on that day.
Wow.
Like I'm friendly with him. So I'm thinking like I have Antonio Rizzuto on the day of,
that's crazy.
Rizzuto getting shot at, and we're having a live, and there's like a guy in the chat saying to me like, your wife is too pretty for you. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, dude, like stop, like stop, you know? And another one, you heard of John Dickey, I assume, right?
Yep.
I mean, I don't, like in terms of like authors in the space, outside the US,
right?
There's not much bigger. I had like John Dickey on, and like I would have to leave comments because you're like, Tom, you gained 10 pounds, and I'm just like, I don't know, like what, like I'm giving you, like I interviewed Totorina's son, like should I exhume respectfully? Should I exhume like Lucky Luciano's body? What more can I give you? And you just deal with so much bullshit. You know what I mean?
I actually saw that interview, Tom. That was a good job too.
Oh, thank you. And I did a lot for it. I did it in Italian. I translated to English. I had a translator on deck because my dialect's better than my Italian because I wanted to be respectful. I interviewed Pablo Escobar's wife. Like and like this, Jeff. This stuff production's expensive.
Yeah,
I do it as a loss to gain awareness. But then I just got tired of it because I felt like what, and not just the economics. It was more like this stuff. And Dean, I appreciate that because that means a lot. But you put out good content and you're like sitting there, you're like, is this worth it? You know what I mean?
Well,
it is worth it. Not to cut you off, Jeff. It is, man.
I think, and I can say this, and me, I'm the last guy to toot my own horn about a fucking thing. I really am. But I think when the genre is small to begin with, and there's so many people to pick and choose who you want to listen to, the ones that are really, truly good at what they do are never going to get the recognition unless somebody big comes along and says, these three guys are fucking phenomenal. We got to put them together for one show. We got to bankroll it and let them do their thing. I think if you did something like that, because you can't do it with one, it's got to be multiple people. Short of doing that, this is it. This is as far as you go.
I'll give you a good example. It fell through, and I still could maybe do it if I get the right funding. But I was working on getting Pablo Escobar's son, Sebastian, on with Totorina. My wife speaks Spanish. I speak Italian. Like that, like it would have been like my head would have physically popped off my body. But then I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'll probably lose $8,000 on it. Like, and I don't mind losing money for the cause, but I just kind of got a little, I don't know. And again, it wasn't, and none of these people are informants. I know I'm known as the informant guy, and I've interviewed a lot of non-informants in my life. Judge Gleason. I try to get the other point of view. But my point being is, I give you a lot of credit because you stay steady and you produce a good product, and that will always win. And thank God for that. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the overall thing is it's a 10-year run. I never bought any subs, never bought any likes. I did it the old fashioned way. And it just seems like now there's a lot of people that do that. And I think anytime you come out of the gate saying you want to be the next Jerry Capisci, you're full of shit. Because there's only one Jerry Capisci.
That's right. That's right.
And you can't aspire to be that. That's 40 years of being in the streets and having contacts with the feds and streets. Come on. But you should try to interview Griselda Blanco's son.
I reached out to him because he was starting, this when they're promoting something or they're doing something,
right?
It's a little easier. I reached out when he was doing that reality show because my wife loved it. And I reached out a few times and it just couldn't connect with him, but I might re-engage because I was thinking about that because after speaking to, when I was Pablo Escobar's wife, I feel like I have a little bit more insight, and I kept in touch with her and stuff. So I would love to kind of interview him and kind of get his take on things as well, you know?
Now, I know at one point, weren't they trying to like throw Totorina's son the fuck out of Italy or out of where he was living?
Well, so you'll appreciate this. So I'm doing my interview with him, and you know this, when bigger the interview, you got to submit, your questions, you got to stick to the questions and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I guess one of them kind of got through, and it made a comment like, well, how was it, being in and around the mafia? And, in Italy, mafia association is illegal. In the U.S.,
right.
You can wear a shirt that says I'm the mafia.
Right.
Being involved in a criminal organization, if it was illegal in the U.S., half of the politicians would be in jail. That's another discussion.
Yeah.
So in Italy, I didn't realize till afterwards he couldn't say anything. If he said yes, that would have been mafia association, who would have been thrown in jail probably right thereafter. But with that being said, he did recently. I was going to do a show on it. He went back to Corleone for the first time since he was like 15, and they booted him out, or they tried to boot him out. I don't know how it worked out, but the government there had to take over the kind of the city government, the local government. It's run by the state, and there's still mafia there, obviously, but they try to boot him out. Rena's wife is still there. The daughter is in France, and she opened up a kind of like an Italian restaurant, and they gave her like a really hard time. I kind of wanted to get her on, to be honest. I'd be interested to hear from
his
her.
father is, believe it or not, listen, if you came into my place, like I got Sinatra photos everywhere, but I have two gangster photos. One's behind me and my cousin, and the other is Totorina.
Yeah, I for doing some research, I was reading Escobar's son's book, and I don't know if they ever connected. I think, and you probably would know better than me. I think the Sicilians got their coke from Cali, I believe. Don't quote me, but so I don't think they did business. But Pablo was very influenced by Rena taking on the state, and it's believed that's kind of why he went that route.
I recently said that on a show that I thought that's where the impetus came from, and believe it or not, I came across paperwork back from 50s, where Carlo Gambino and I think it was Russell Buffalino and Santos Trafficante bought an airstrip in Argentina on the line in the border of Colombia. And you know why they did that.
Naturally.
Yeah.
I did. So I try to do some international stuff. I came across this Italian guy. I don't know if he still posts, but remember that Rosario Naimo?
Yeah.
You want to brawling. So he's an interesting guy. So he was Rena's guy here in the US, and Lucchese's made him just to give him some cover to the local guys that were still around. He was close to Paolo De Luca, I believe, who was close with, I think, for the Coglianesi. And another reason, this, how awkward it'd be if he was made with the Gambinos.
Yeah.
And it's like, my guy killed half your family. So you know why he was made with Lucchese's. But what I'm getting at is he was here, and he said that Rena wanted to kill Gotti because and it's funny because looking at the diaspora, there's not a lot of people. If you meet people from Sicily, there's not a lot of people from Corleone here in the U.S. And I even asked Rena Jr. I said, "Do you have any family here on the podcast?" But privately, they had like nobody, right? So I think when Castellano got killed, Rena didn't have anybody here other than Rosario, and Rosario said he wanted to kill Gotti just for killing Castellano. Other than that, there's no other proof. I would love to hear what you guys think, and you think, Jeff. But it did come from Rosario, and he said that Rena was pretty pissed about it.
So what I can tell you is there is a organized crime crew that nobody's ever heard about, the Cotones. Okay. And I was very close with all of them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they were involved in the pizza connection. They came over from Sicily, right? And they were related to Antonio Catone, who, if you study Sicilian stuff, in any event, they ended up migrating from New York to Jersey to DC, and they were firebombing like all these pizza joints.
The cheese wars, right?
Yep. They were involved in that as well. And then they ended up moving to Virginia Beach. And they took over everything, and they tried to kill an FBI agent. That's how serious they had. They had a crew of about 25 guys, and they were all from Corleone. every single one of them. And when John Gotti, when it came up, because when I first met the guy, he didn't tell. I just kind of knew because he carried himself a certain way. But after years and years of just being with him every day, he started telling me stuff. And he looked at me one day and goes, "Who the fuck is John Gotti? You know who Toto Rina is? You know who Luciano Leggio is? John Gotti." And that's when I kind of got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, hey, Tom, I'm sorry to cut you off. Does Toto Rina's son still have money?
He yeah, that's the other thing too. Like it's a little different. I'm not that like if I say anything wrong, I'm gonna hang from a tree, but it's a little different dealing with like those guys. You know, like if I'm like, hey, where'd the money go? And I got you. You know, it's like where'd Tom go? There is a little bit of like I even had like some old timers, just not in the life, just Italian people that are in my family that were like, just don't do it. Like just don't, you know. You know, that's going to happen. It was a clean interview. I'm a civilian, but I still think, well, I know Totorina Messino, they took $1 billion from him twice. Right. Yep. And they took about, I think, 375 million away from Rina in like the 80s. So he's got something. The one brother's in jail. And it's interesting because now I don't want to talk about it too much. My sources and what I understand, the guy that I interviewed was inducted, and he did 8 years for Mafia Association because he was actually, I think he was a money guy trying to move around money. But then you saw, and Jeff, you saw this in the U.S. too. A lot of guys in Italy will make their sons to try to protect them, so when they die, the other guys won't take their fortune. So I believe he probably got his button, but he's not the muscle of the family.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, so I found that interesting. But you know, another area that kind of interests me is post Pizza Connection, right? I think the Pizza Connection, the reason why it really happened was because the Mujahideen was the real suppliers to the Sicilians, and when they turned their weapons, you know, after they're done beating the Russians and they started shooting at us, they said, "Fuck you, we're going to cut off your money supply." Call the DOJ, they call Rudy up and said, let's get rid of these customers to shoot down that channel. But there were still other groups of Sicilians that were getting their drugs from other sources, from Marseille, from Turkey, from other areas, you know? Hey, Chris.
What's going on, Chris?
Nothing. I thought he was coming on Thursday. He texted me because I
got pissed off today and decided, fuck it, I'm going to do something.
Hey, Chris, I asked him the same shit.
Well, I thought he posted Tuesday and Sundays a day ago, and then he texted me.
You're right. I did this just to infuriate you.
I could tell.
I didn't make any money today. You believe that shit? All this great content.
You did good the other day, man.
Super chat. We see some good people here.
You did good the other day.
It's not a big deal. Money comes, money goes. You missed, Gorky, you missed the first 15 minutes of this show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I blasted like 8:30.
Oh, yeah, I'm on the end result.
You're not really missing much. I mean, you just
I'll go back and watch.
Vintage me. I'm sure tomorrow there'll be 1,000
Who'd you nail? Gravano, I guess, right?
Who didn't I nail?
Wafflers.
No, I kind of changed it up a little bit, but it is what it is. So what have you got coming up, Tom?
Well, I know like your stance of informants. I just interviewed Francis. He's doing a talk over here in Jersey about the history of the mob.
Did you tell him you knew me? I bet that conversation would go well.
Probably go over like a fart in church. So I got, I have so non-mob stuff. I have some cool stuff happening. I don't know if it's cool to mention, but mob stuff. I did interview. We're just randomly interviewed the president of the Hard Rock Casino in Atlantic City. To me, I like that stuff.
That's definitely different.
I found it fascinating. I don't want to ask for like the mob stuff because that would be weird, but and probably that they're out by now. But and then I'm working on some pieces and interviews that I don't want to say too much because there was a female mafia boss from the Ndrangheta that didn't inform but kind of got away. I'm working on getting her on. So I have some stuff cooking, and I learned not to share my I'll give it, Jeff. You know this. In the beginning, I was very transparent. I'm like, oh, working on this. I'm working on that.
Don't do that because people will steal it.
Well, even better, I had somebody that I was a little closer with than I gave out, and somebody from this mob tube stuff called that person, and they're like, Tom's a bad guy, and they're like, well, how is he a bad guy? They're like, I don't know, he's just a bad guy, and like I knew the person, he laughed about it, and had him on anyway. My point being is like, yeah, people try to sabotage it. I do have some stuff cooking, and I would like to collaborate with you, Jeff, if you want to do something that's
just let me know. I'm available. You know that. But you know what? I have the same problem you do, Tom, because I did an 18-part Kennedy series, right? It's over like,
that's amazing.
I don't know, 35 hours of stuff. And then I see suddenly 3 other people start talking about it, or I'll do like a show that nobody talks about, like the whole cheese connection going back to Bonanno and York, PA, and all of that. And someone will sub to my paid podcast, and all of a sudden, verbatim, word for word, they're doing my show. And I'm like, there's just like, at what point do you just like stop copying everybody? Like, just be original.
Yeah.
You know, people may not like Lee Cole, but he's at least original to some extent.
You gotta do what Drake did to Pusha T. Send an invoice.
Yeah.
I put him on blast. You know, I put the name on.
Well, and the last time I did, the guy threatened to sue me, and I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. I don't have time for it.
That's one of the things that that you know, you have a paywall, right? So it's obviously it's your intellectual property. Even ideas,
right,
are also your IP. And it's like the hard part is you're not public, so they'll take it, or whoever may take it, and they look like it's their stuff when they do that. You know.
Yep.
Tom, you think because the Ndrangheta hierarchy is so kind of like convoluted and complex compared to Cosa Nostra, that's another reason why they stayed so off the radar of law enforcement?
Like I looked at the chart, I had a headache.
It's crazy.
and
yeah, man, it's nuts.
And Jeff, I don't know if you can echo this. I believe you don't get formally made if you're a family member. But if you marry into them or you're an outsider, they do have a formal ceremony. And the reason why they think there's a formal ceremony because of the hit that happened in Germany, and they found some saints in their pocket. They actually caught a Ndrangheta ceremony on YouTube. It's on YouTube. They found one of them.
I saw that.
Yeah. So it really comes down to 2 things: your structure, which you're correct, and then it's just your family. And what's weird about it is it's not even like I don't want to roll on my brother. People don't want to roll on their brother-in-law because that's the provider for their sister, and they'll kill you. and they'll kill you. Like they're.
Well, Jeff, did you tell Tom the stat of what Ndrangheta had rat-wise in its history compared to?
It's like 30 ever, right?
Yeah, it was. You know, it was like less than 20, but it was like United States 8,000, and it was like Ndrangheta 20. Something like I can't remember the exact number, but it was below 30, and I'm just like,
that's crazy.
Wow.
That's
and
crazy.
I don't understand their hierarchy at all. I've looked at it like 50 times, and I just get sick to my stomach and say, okay, whatever. I can't even, because I tried to explain it on my podcast, and I got emails saying I was completely lost by the 3rd ring.
Yeah. Well, I when I had John Dickey on, so I asked him. So La Santa is supposed to be the highest.
Right.
And these guys are invisible. Like these are like either like some old crusty guy that you walk by every day that has like 4 billion net worth, or some businessman in Milan that looks like a reputable businessman but has an export company or whatever. So that's supposed to be La Santa, supposed to be the highest level. Like you can't even like if you like look at them, they'll kill you. You know what I mean? Like they'll use like AI to like locate your next move if you were to go in the witness protection. You know what I mean? So but I was doing some research, and I was learning that there might even be another level that is like super woven into the fabric of society. Like
why not? It's
and these guys, and John Dickey proved that too. Like SJF, like you have these people on that you are like you would acquiesce anything to them. You give them one of your ideas and they shit on it. But I still think there's even a higher level that is just within the fabric of society, that even higher than the Santa. That's my opinion.
Yeah, you could be right.
That sounds like the ultimate of the secret society stuff, not just organized crime like the fucking Masons or something. They're all connected.
But that's what's weird. So, and I think Jeff touched on this. Forgive me, because Jeff does so much that he touched on it, or he knows about it. The P2 Mason Lodge was obviously very powerful, and John Gambino was with those guys, and Miguel Sindona, which was the banker for those guys in the Sicilian. But what's not known was the Calabria mob is very close to the P2 Masons. I think even closer than Cosa Nostra. And when Totorina got married, one of his groomsmen was a prominent Ndrangheta boss.
You know, I saw
a lot of the.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, I was going to say a lot of the politics. If you look closely at Totorina's life, a lot of guys were associated with Masonic stuff, and that was kind of the direct line to government. Because a lot of people, you know, we've speculated. My buddy Andrew laughs all the time. Says, you know, if you think for 1 second Totorina didn't have the Italian Parliament to some extent in his pocket, you'd be wrong. Because he did.
That's why he killed. What were those guys? Salvo, the two cousins that collected a tax. For the state. I believe they were men of honor. I believe they were made. But basically, he went to them, and I think it was Salvo. But anyway, he went to them and said, "You got to this has to stop." And they either said, "Hey, we can do this for you," and they couldn't, or they were going to, and then the politicians screwed them. But either way, that's why they died. But yeah, Reno got screwed essentially because he got certain guarantees that the government didn't come through on.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing they did to Escobar. Really, you know, the DEA, and furthermore, even in the Kennedy series, it's like we gave Fidel Castro weapons. Like, and it's like we did this with Bin Laden. We gave him weapons, and then we decide, you know what, a little bit too much. Let's reel this back in. And really what I try to explain to people is if you've ever seen The Godfather 3 and they implement that whole immobiliare thing, think Totorina. Because that's the kind of power the guy had. They controlled the Vatican Bank.
Wow.
So and that's power. So when people go, you know, come to me and go, well, Joe Bonanno, and I go, Totorina.
I mean, the belief is that the money was all tied in, and so, you know, Italy's all screwed up. And what happened was in Poland, it was becoming more communist at the time. I want to say maybe 70s, 80s. And what happened was communist people tend to either be like atheists or not non-religious or just definitely not Catholic or Christian. So, you know, the church is about money, and Poland is a super now Catholic country. So they felt they were kind of losing the market share in a way, right? So they went to the mob to get money because the Vatican wasn't broke, but they had dirty money because they couldn't like give like real money. It was like kind of like a clandestine mission. They used the mob's money to like kind of squelch a communism on behalf of the Italian state and the Vatican. And then when that guy in Godfather 3, they needed the money back, he didn't have it. So that there's some truth. Godfather 3 is so misunderstood. There's certain depths and levels to it. You get past Sofia Coppola, it's a next level movie in my opinion.
Tom, let me ask you this: at the height of both their powers, and I asked this question to Jeff before, who was more powerful at their height, Totorina or Ndrangheta, like today? That's tough, huh?
Great question. I mean, what's your objective? Like, if you were looking to make money and be able to clean it, I felt that the Ndrangheta does a better job at cleaning their money. Like, I'll give you an example. Again, Jeff knows this. When they started making money in the heroin trade in Cosa Nostra, everyone was getting rich in Sicily. And they basically built $1 billion worth of infrastructure in and around Palermo. There was like 6 guys that gave permits. 4 of them were over 80 and none of them were in construction. So like it was so like they were so like illegal and like what they did and purposeful that they were almost dumb. We're in Ndrangheta, their shell companies. So in financial, I would have to give it to Ndrangheta, but for manpower, I would give it to Cosa Nostra. I know I'm hedging a little bit. That's my best answer.
Hey, Tom and Jeff, can I ask both a question?
Sure.
Any new news? I hope I'm saying his name right, on Matteo Denaro.
Yeah, he's not rolling. I mean, there's some rumors about that. They're basically so because of the 41 bis laws, they basically are able to treat gangsters like they're pieces of crap, and they do. And he's in a pretty crappy cell, pretty crappy area. He's not going to roll. again, I like Jeff's opinion. So Maloney, who's a new prime minister, and she's very, and people land where they land. She's very right wing, and the right wing in Italy is not the friend of the mafia in any way. They actually are the ones that do a better job. Democrats tend to be corrupted easier. But with that said, though,
just like
she became prime minister, and then the day after he got arrested, she was in Sicily, right? So just think the logistics behind this. A president has a calendar that goes out like 4 years, and to just like pick up and go to a mafia stronghold on the fly doesn't happen. I think it was planned.
Yeah.
Way out. Way out. So, and then he lost his power too. He was still powerful, obviously, but he was more, I think, of a figurehead. He made his money. Probably some of the local, like the current commission, So, and Jeff knows this. The mafia is a little different in Sicily. It doesn't really go by family per se. It goes by area. So in Palermo, you'll have like 25 families, right? In Corleone, you'll have a family. And I visited like near Partinico. There's a family there, and it's like a little different than how it's structured here. So like the current commission or the regional kind of provinces, those guys don't really need to answer to Matteo, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I got to start heading out to work, man.
Well, have a good night at work, Dean. Thanks for dropping in.
Dean.
The life of a truck driver is never easy.
Pleasure, Dean.
Well, be safe, buddy.
Yo, thank you, man.
Pleasure, Dean. But also, Chris, to answer your question too, with the Ndrangheta, and again, you follow where Italian immigration went. Like I have a lot of friends that are Calabrian. My friend's wife has relatives in Australia, relatives in Canada. So like wherever where kind of Calabrians went, the Ndrangheta followed and had their tentacles. I would put the Australian mafia against anybody with the Ndrangheta, but I would put them against anybody. I would put them at 175 a key. I mean, you could do a lot of damage. So the Ndrangheta is there. They get a little more involved with pills there than other areas. According to Nicasso, Antonio Nicasso, the Ndrangheta cell, I think it's a Camiso, is so they operate differently, right? The heads are in San Luca and other places in Calabria, and it runs like a multinational or global where the heads and decisions are still made in Calabria. I believe, and again, Jeff can maybe echo this or disagree. I believe that the cells in Canada are so strong that they can just say, hey, here's what we're doing, and do not need Italy's approval. But I believe they're the only cell that's able to do that. That's my understanding. Jeff, I don't know.
I would agree with you. And even just to take a step back, just to because it sort of has some relevance, Frank Cali.
Yeah.
Guys in Italy called him the boss. Yeah. And this is a guy in New York who, I think we're going to find probably in the next 20 years how big he really was, because he controlled everything in the city. Yet have you heard anything, not to change the subject, but I keep hearing that Anthony Comella, every time they give him the nut test, he's still failing the nut test.
Yeah. I mean, I know, I heard through the grapevine that his family that lived in Staten Island, I believe they moved. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
They have some family in New Jersey. I heard that they're obviously nervous or scared. It's not the movies. They're not going to get FBI.
I don't know what that means.
But the truth is, I did hear that he is like very protected and very like insulated. Jail, psychiatry. Like he's not like. And let's be honest, like they're not. He's not going to see the light of day. He's going to be sequestered for life, even if he does pass. So yeah, I did hear something similar along that thread. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people were asking me, and like I always tell them, I said, in any case, doesn't matter who you kill, especially when it's a high-profile guy.
Correct.
They're going to put you in the nut ward, and they're really not going to put you to trial till they know you're absolutely not crazy. And if I was him, the smartest thing I do the rest of my life is keep eating the pillow feathers. Keep eating them. Because I'm going to tell you, if they were to put him into state prison, it would be days, and he's done. They will kill him.
Because it's also, you know, and I really, in my opinion, I think the true Sicilians would be behind it somehow versus the Italian American Sicilians. Just because you just can't do that. Like in Italy, if you know some crazy guy killed a mob boss, like the whole family would be hanging from a pole. I don't mean to laugh, but it's true, you know.
Yeah, and I always found it really highly suspicious that the first couple of days they're like, oh, we don't have any surveillance footage from the truck on the interstate, but then suddenly they did. It's just a little strange to me. I don't buy any of the.
It's a weird case. Yeah, and like I don't like with him specifically. I do buy into what happened. Like there were some people that said that he might be part of the deep state, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, that's probably not true. But yeah, it's just the fact that a real mob boss like that got killed by a crazy guy. I mean, that just they try to pin it on like Gene Gotti. Like, come on, man. Like that we all saw through that. But
leave the old guy alone. Well, I can tell you this much is that I know a maid guy in your area.
Yeah.
Who Carmelo tried to do this with his daughter.
Really?
This was not a one-off thing. He did something very similar a year prior to this.
Wow.
He was attracted to the guy's daughter. She, I think, went out with him once, and then he wouldn't stop stalking her. And then he started making these nutty claims of, well, I'm going to have him arrested because he's a gangster. And this is a big guy in your area.
Wow.
So it was like, and he told me the story, and I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. He goes, no, I wanted to kill the prick.
Wow. I don't, and also the story seems weird. Frank Cali, this, like, Sicilians are like a different level, right? I'm not a Brooklyn guy would crush a Sicilian, but like a Sicilian guy will like take out like a toothpick and like know how to fight with it and like have
right.
Just like dirty fighters. Like, I'm sorry, they just are, And like, even though he wasn't a street guy, he had street knowledge, right? So the fact that like his car got hit and then there's a loud noise and he just went out there,
that doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. I can't wrap my head around that.
Now, the way that I kind of heard it from some people in Staten Island was that he had warned this kid, stay the fuck away.
Yeah.
Beat it, and like the kid's out front, he sees his car. That would make more sense to me if they had like an incident of running into each other before, because now he's going to have a beef.
Yep.
But the fact that he turns his back for 1 second, my God.
Well, he had Frank Cali, and a lot of this stuff is getting unearthed. He had, I think, like a water company. And he had a lot of interest in the DR. I don't know what it fully was, but in terms of legality, he had like a water company, I think a soft drink company.
Foods.
Yeah. So he was, this is what, we talk about that, even I talked a little bit with Francis, the mob was better off probably about 20 years ago saying, you know what, let's be 80% legit, 90% legit.
Right.
We're going to live up a reputation. We'll keep, 5 to 10 knuckle draggers that are out of disposable. We'll give them a stipend just to hang out and just get into like a Freemasonry. Like the Yakuza in Japan actually has like offices that are public. Like, hey, we're Yakuza, because they are, although they do illegal stuff, they are like part of the fabric of the community. And I think that's where I think Cosa Nostra were wrong in the U.S.
Yep.
Too,
Absolutely.
People give me crap for this one. I even think, and it was like Murder Inc., I always felt they were the American government would never allow this. And I know you're going to probably take out your tinfoil hat when I say this, but I think they should have some type of paramilitary arm.
Yeah.
That just enforces whatever, and listen, if you have the fear or the reputation, you don't need to do anything.
No.
That's kind of my thing,
Not at all.
So, well, listen, Jeff, it's been an honor and privilege to be here.
Yeah, anytime, Tom.
So I appreciate it. Chris, nice meeting you. Tell Dean.
Yeah, you too, Tom. Have a good night, man.
Anytime, Tom. Give me a call if you need anything.
I'd like to. Be well. Be well, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
You can set up a round table with him, minus the other guy.
Yeah, right. Hey, Will, how are you?
Hey, Jeff, how you doing, man? I feel like I just got a PhD tonight. It's great.
Sometimes that happens on this show. You never know. I've been trying to get Tom on for a while. I was shocked he came on. Tom and I didn't always get along. I didn't like the fact that he interviewed informants. I used to give him shit all the time for it. But it is what it is.
I understand both sides. I mean, I've been on both sides. So, I mean, it's never ratted. Let's get that. but my dad was the FBI.
That's all right.
He was one of the worst guys I ever knew.
Okay, well then it's not all right.
Yeah. I mean, he's just not a good person. But what's weird is you basically the OG, but you were like the last guy I found because you're not as bombastic. You have all this knowledge. You know, who you remind me of is Dan Carlin. You know, the historian.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And it's just your knowledge is so rich, man. It's just I'm just getting on it, so I'm really digging it.
Well, it's funny because earlier tonight for like 15 minutes, I let it flow about what I thought about certain people, thinking, let's see if they like the old version of me or they just like the little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit calmer. And it's proven to me that the little wiser and calmer guy is the guy that needs to stay. You know, but if because other people scream go after people nonstop for an hour and make like $4,000. I don't want to make money trashing anybody. That's just not what I want to do. So
it's a waste of time. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not worth it. But man, you had your buddy on, the Dean guy, and hey man, I don't know your name and I can't read it right now. Chris. Okay, Chris. But he had he's an LA guy, I guess, and I was born there. So why wasn't LA a bigger, like Long Beach is the town I was born in, and that's a huge dock. I mean, it's huge port. Why wasn't the Mafia more into it, or were they? And I just don't know about it.
That is one of the biggest. If somebody said to me, what is the one question you get repeatedly over on my podcast? It's why on earth didn't the LA mob take advantage of the ports in LA? And I think a lot of that is because if you look at the existence of LA prior to like the Hispanic gangs and the black gangs and all of that, they really had a problem with Jack Dragna. Jack Dragna was a smart guy, but he wasn't willing to be violent. And then Mickey Cohen comes along. And I think by the time they did that, they had so much money coming from the studios, from the Writers Guild to the SAG-AFTRA and all of that. I don't know. I can't give you a specific reason as to why they didn't, but I think a lot of it just had to do with they just made too much goddamn money with other things. I mean, they were funneling in drugs from Mexico to LA. That's what Virginia Hill's biggest job with organized crime is to go down to Mexico and bang cartel members and eavesdrop on their conversations and get back to Meyer Lansky and Luciano and all these other guys, what they were doing. I don't know, but if they had done that, they would have been a juggernaut there, but it just never. It's the same thing could be said for Baltimore. When organized crime was in Baltimore, why didn't they seize the fucking ports? But the whole Eastern Seaboard was controlled by Carlo Gambino. So I don't know why they never went west. That would have been like the smartest thing they could have done.
Do you think they tried?
I mean, it was open.
Control, take some control of LA with putting Johnny Roselli and then before him Benny Siegel there a little bit?
I think they originally sent Benny Siegel out there to control LA, but you saw how that went. And once it got to the racing wire and he started screwing Chicago over on the racing wire, it was just a matter of time. And he wanted to, him and Roselli kind of had the same addiction, and that addiction was fame and broads and everything else. It started as business, but then it sort of morphed into something else.
You know how people say Joey Messina was the first actual boss to ever become a rat? Or
sure.
You heard it say. Wasn't that really Jimmy Fradiano, though? Because he became, I know he wasn't that much of a boss.
One could make the argument that Joe Bonanno was.
He was.
One could make the argument Lucky Luciano was.
Well,
because did he not tell the police and give the police information? He did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're going to use the term now, if we want to talk certifiable, being in court and testifying and put people away, then Fradiano probably would have been the first. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was just thinking about that tonight.
Interesting. I never thought about that. Man, I had another. I wanted to tell you, I have my wife and my girlfriend going to their second jobs tonight. But that's because on your rant.
There you go.
But there you go. I mean, I'm a disabled veteran. I don't really have time for a girl. I'm a caregiver too. So, but I'm here. Hey, it was my honor, man. But man, I'm just that Kennedy thing. I'm just starting to get into it. And how much paperwork do you go through, man?
About $4,000 a month.
That pacer's expensive quickly, huh?
It's 10 cents a page. Yes, you got to make sure you're downloading the right stuff.
Okay, I my mom met Carlos many occasions, but
right.
I've never heard from anyone else that he was pushed out of a plane. Is that 100% fact?
Yes.
Wow.
I have FBI paperwork where they talk about it.
Wow. So, man.
I just want a crash course lesson before they tossed them out.
Wow. No wonder Dallas happened, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because somebody came along recently, like a couple of days ago, and said to me that never happened. The plane actually landed. I said, then how do you explain the leeches and the cut mark all over Marcelo's face?
Well, the plane landed for sure.
Yeah, just not with Marcelo on it.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you're not going to get that kind of information from anyone else, and it's like it's weird that I find you the last and you're the most knowledgeable.
Try to be.
As long as you find it, it doesn't matter when, you know.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
But hey, man, I didn't have a lot. I just wanted to. Lebecky is really good too, and you two should definitely put it together, man, because it was enthralling tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna try.
All right, man. Hey, you guys have a good night. I'm out. Okay, buddy.
All right, buddy.
Yeah, buddy. Well,
you too, buddy.
Jeff, I don't know if you could tell, but we got an echo, like your voice apparently.
No, we don't.
A little.
No, we don't. He probably had on YouTube on his computer and was using his phone.
Yeah, it only took me about a year to figure out which one to fucking mute.
Yeah, and I didn't want to interrupt the guy.
No, you're such a nice fucking guy. That's great. Well, yeah, and I love this comment that you're never bombastic. I've never seen you bombastic ever.
No, I'm calm.
But he was right with your research. Well, you're going on the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, I'm only going to go 5 more minutes. Only 5 more minutes. Let me do this now because I didn't do it earlier. Thank you, Apex, for the $5 cash, and thank you, Dave, for standing up for FBS.
I don't know what that means.
No, it's not about you. It's about
I didn't know it.
It's about FBS.
Oh.
So those that donated, thank you. Those that didn't, go to hell. No, I'm just no, the first 15 minutes I let my feelings out.
You never know. That's so rare.
Yeah. It is rare, but fuck it. Once in a while it's not so bad. And I got to be honest with you, because I thought for sure the second I started, my phone would start blowing up. What was
the title? Oh, Gravano, FB Wafflers. Oh,
no, I kind of changed up the direction. Hold on, I got a Cash App I have to read. Let's see. I got $20 from Jason towards the making of our films this fall. Thank you very much, Jason. I appreciate it. No, I talked about just some of the. I know it's drama, but I just talked about some of the sickness that's on YouTube. Some of the people that are saying things that are just shit bags, and I get tired of it, and I get tired of people abusing Angel, people abusing me, people abusing Lee. Like, I dogged Nadu a little bit. That's really it. But it was pretty good. It was pretty good, I think. I'm sure there's going to be 100 fucking videos, and don't you fucking text me going, "Oh, look what he's saying about you today." I don't want to know.
Yeah, I don't know when it never ends. Like, I don't know how these people don't get sick of the drama. Like the not going to mention the names, but there's 2 parties very well known that have been arguing back and forth, it seems, for like 2 fucking years. And it's like, don't people ever get sick of it? Don't you want to see a different movie after a while? But whatever, man. Hey,
like watching the same porn every time. You know what's coming. Literally. Ha ha. Horrible joke.
I have them written down. I just like sites and titles that I go on.
But yeah, so I was glad Tom came on. It's been a while. Like when I saw him pop in there, I was like, oh boy, this ought to be good.
He was always a good dude, and he seems to do some research.
No. I'm not a, and he knows. And Tom, if you're still listening, this is nothing. This is not a shot. I'm not really big on talking about current shit for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
So that made me a little uncomfortable at first, but it's okay. You can talk about things. We're not divulging anything. And then Will come on and goes, well, no, I'm not a rat or nothing. My dad was a Fed. And I'm like going, oh God, at least he's not telling me he's a rat. I would have been like, oh fuck, there goes the record of not platforming. But
yeah, right. And then he says, oh, that's all right. No, the guy, he was a horrible guy.
They will be cussing you out tomorrow, Jeff. Well, they can cuss me out. I'll just flag their shit.
It's so fucking old, man. It's
still didn't do the famous Ron Previty. There you go. Joey Merlino on a steak.
I wonder how many people want to see you order from Gino Steaks like your dad and screw it up, because that's going to be in part of one of the films we do. I have a feeling.
Oh yeah, I'll figure out something for that.
Yeah.
I thought for sure. You see, the reason why I did what I did at the beginning for two reasons. One, I meant what I said. And number two, I wanted to see if I flipped out like the old Jeff Canarsie, if it was even profitable. And it's not.
I think
at least I'm being fucking honest.
Yeah.
That's more than you'll get out of a lot of other people. I wanted to see if it was profitable. It wasn't. So I know that's just not, I wouldn't do that anyway. But I don't want to profit off anybody else's fucking misery either. I just don't.
It's
if people want to tip me and they say, hey, get a new face, that's fine. Hey, cut your own throat, fine. Just send $1. If you're gonna insult me like that, at least send $1. And I offered the haters a chance to come on here and say what they wanted to say, and nobody showed up. Just Tom.
Did you see what Jamie said here? He goes, I've been in suspense for 2 days. Did Agnostic make it out of the tree?
I don't know if Agnostic did. I haven't seen him today. Well, wait a minute. Didn't he go to the water park yesterday?
That's what he said.
Maybe he flew off the fucking water slide. He said he was just going to sit there by the pool and float in the floaty or whatever. Maybe something happened. Maybe he saw a rat and he went down the water slide after him and flew into the woods and he's stuck in another tree.
Listen. Last time I was at a water park, probably about 10 years ago, there's a little local public pool by our area. Everybody joins. They have this little water slide, little tube slide, not big. So my kid was bugging me, thinking I'm fucking 20 years old again to go down this slide.
Okay.
Wow.
I was sorry to interrupt you. I was told, please don't say my name, $155 super Cash App.
That's what you just got.
Yep. $155.
Beautiful.
But and it says, please don't say my fucking name or else.
That's good.
Yeah.
You didn't see it on here. But so last time I went to a park, it was 10 years ago, a little local pool. There's this little tube slide, and my kid's driving me nuts to go down it. I'm 270 pounds. See, I don't like this stuff. He goes down first, and he's waiting for me. I went down. My son ended up waiting for his dad for about 5 minutes because I got stuck in the middle of the fucking thing.
Yeah,
there wasn't enough water pressure.
I can't remember the last time I went to a water park. All I remember was getting the atomic wedgie from one of those huge slides where you're yanking. And it was so bad. It was like pulling my fucking shorts out of my throat, not my ass.
Yeah.
Had to come out my throat, then out my ass.
Poconos has a couple of cool really water parks. One's called Camel Beach. I went to when I was younger a few times.
So in the Poconos, Camelback Mountain, obviously, and Jack Frost.
That's
right?
Camel Beach.
Right. Okay. So have you ever been on the Alpine slides there?
No, but I was at Montage.
And we're referring to the same thing. You get on the sled that's concrete. Yeah. Okay. So when I was about 12 years old, my father says, what do you want? We're up here seeing my grandmother because she lived in off Lake Naomi in Pocono Pines. And I said, we want to do the Alpine slide. He's like, all right, I'll take you to go do that. Well, they tell you as you're getting on this motherfucker, use the brakes. Oh, no, not Jeff. Not Jeff, not his friend Josh. We're going down this alpine slide at 25 miles an hour, like not even pushing it with our hand, but using our foot to push it all the way down. And let me tell you, when they say slow down, when you hit those like curves, they mean it, because I went flying off the fucking track. I had cuts and shit all over me, but it's one of the best times I ever had. So much so we did it a couple of times and never slowed down. But the worst is when you get these girls on there that are ahead of you and they're like going and they're slowly boom, and you ram them right from behind and they fly out. Oh, it's fantastic. Let me see. Who are your top 5 fighters in hockey after Bob Probert? Ty Domi, Rob May, Cam Neely. What is that? 3.
Was for sure one of them, you think?
Terry O'Reilly. Let's see who Rob Ray. So Rob Ray, Brad May, Terry O'Reilly. That's 3. I'm gonna forget, but Ty Domi, and whoever else the fuck I said.
What was it? I don't follow hockey much, but wasn't for sure one of the tougher guys?
Oh yeah, for sure is a tough guy. Absolutely. But I like the old school guys. The old school. I mean, if you go back to like, just type in 1970s hockey fights, they all have afros and they're like grabbing a chunk of the afro and just popping away. It's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. Well, all right. I'm going to run.
All right. I think I am too. So listen, I wanted to thank everybody. Do you want me to kick you off the show here? I'm going to do it. Angel does. Goodbye. Anyway, we've had you guys on for 2 hours and 19 minutes tonight. We had a lot of great guests. You guys allowed me to vent for the first 20 minutes or so. I totally appreciate it. Remember, we will be back Thursday night at 8:30 with just mob content, more of what you saw tonight. For those that donated, thank you. It makes it worth my while to do this. Carlos, thank you for being you. Anyway, we will see everybody Thursday night, 8:30 p.m.